I'm being really brave and I'm vlogging in semi-public on my veranda. So there's been another discussion sprung up on YouTube. A few different people have made videos and I've decided to contribute what I think. So it started with the sex abuse scandal that came up a few months ago, and I've blogged about that on my blog. So part of that was about the power imbalance between content creators and fans, and that being a part of abuse in those situations. So this has sparked a whole conversation about YouTube culture and YouTube content creators' relationships with their fans. I have 3 things that I want to contribute to this discussion in this video. Number 1, can we please focus on perpetrators and not on victims in these discussions? Not to ignore victims, but not to erase perpetrators as if they have nothing to do with the abuse, when actually, you know, it's in the name, perpetrators. They're the reason for the abuse. So this video and this video both have really good responses on how YouTubers who aren't abusive but have, you know, been friends with those who've been called out, how they can respond. So one of these suggestions was to actually make a video about it, because a lot of people have been like blogging and stuff, or put up videos about this is what consent is, which is fine, but not actually talking about it on their videos. And of all the YouTubers that I'm subscribed to, the videos that I watch, I can think of only one, which is Tyrannosaurus Rex, who's actually explicitly made reference to this whole situation. And I think that's a little bit remiss, because I mean, people like me, I don't follow YouTube stuff on Twitter and don't often go on Tumblr, and the way, as I explained in my blog post a few months ago, the way that I found out about this whole thing was it was through one of those, the 2 sex consent culture kind of blogs that came up, but I had to ask in the comments what's going on here basically, and then saw this whole thing on Tumblr. Anyway, so I feel it's remiss that people who have been friends with publicly people like Alex Day and other, I don't know who, that they haven't, you know, called out them. Like Charlie McDonald, for example, has written a blog post about how he's not friends with Alex Day anymore, but he hasn't made a video about it. So like, fine, fair enough, no one's under any obligation to put something on their channel that they don't want to, and I understand it's pretty tricky with friendships and stuff being involved, but when those YouTubers go on to make reference to the abuse situation in oblique ways, or in ways that I think miss the point, that's when I start to get really uncomfortable. So there's 3 examples of this. 2 of them I think are kind of bad, and 1 of them is okay. So the first one is Hazel Hayes. Her YouTube name is Chewing Sand. So she has appeared in a few of Alex Day's videos. In her video about YouTube celebrity culture, she says something like, there's an elephant in the room, you know, we know there's an elephant in the room, and I'm just going to say one piece of advice. Treat someone you haven't met like you haven't met them before. And then she goes on to say, you know, it seems kind of obvious, but you might think you know someone because you've seen their videos and you might have interacted with them online or whatever, but you don't really know them, and you need to treat them like that. And like, I understand where she's coming from, but the fact that she hasn't called out any abusive YouTubers that she's had public friendships with, and then when on the one thing that she does say, she makes it about the victim, or, you know, presumably about a victim, like talking about fans and fan situation and women, how to keep themselves safe basically, and just completely ignoring the whole part where someone actually takes advantage of that fan because maybe they're, you know, idolising them too much. She's just saying, oh, just don't idolise them in that way. I mean, it's not actually bad advice, but just the context of it, the fact that that's the only thing she's saying about it, it just makes me feel really uncomfortable. Like, the real elephant in the room is the fact that male YouTubers have been abusive towards their fans and towards other women and girls. That's the real elephant in the room that she's not talking about. So Mikola, in his 3-part discussion of YouTube celebrity culture, has one small section in which he refers to the abuse situation and this is what he says. Hey, here's a thought. Let's put adoring young teenage fans up in the same hotels as the attractive performers they idolise, and then let's orchestrate the event to reinforce any sense of entitlement those performers may harbour, and at the same time let's instill a pattern of obedience and submissiveness by the fans. What could possibly go wrong? So in this quote, he makes small reference to the entitlement that's at the heart of this issue. My understanding is that entitlement and power imbalance is at the heart of abusive situations. So Mikola makes small reference to the entitlement, but his characterisation of the fans makes me feel really uncomfortable. He paints fans as brainless and subservient, and I also think that while event organisers of YouTube conventions have a lot to answer for, blaming it all on the situation, like it's just a mathematical equation that you can't escape, so it's a cop-out. And also, I should have mentioned this earlier, but context for Mikola, he's been known to be friends with some of these abusive YouTubers, for example Alex Day, and when I went to find the video and rewatch it, I noticed that he still has a quote from Tom Milsom, who was the first one who was called out for being abusive. So far from recanting his friendships, like, he's still got it up there, and then he's blaming it on convention organisers. Like, it just really doesn't sit right with me. So Neefsy in his video points out correctly about the power imbalance between content creators and their fans, and that is good to me, but it ignores the fact that a lot of these situations of abuse, there was not that fan-based, content creator power imbalance. There was one story of a famous female YouTuber who had a man who was older than her, quite a bit older, like 7 years older than her, wanted to boost his own career, and so took advantage of her and used her fame to bolster him, at the same time as abusing her and making her feel like she should be grateful of all the attention he was paying to her and how famous he was making her, all the while taking advantage of her, abusing her. Horrible story, but it wasn't about the fame power imbalance. It was an age thing, definitely, I think, and also a male-female thing. Like, let's not forget this is still real, that gender is still relevant to a power imbalance. The power imbalance of abuse goes way beyond YouTube culture and content creator / fan power imbalance. It's a deeper cultural, systemic power imbalance. The gender power imbalance in a creator / fan situation is worse, but it's not the only power imbalance there is. So Hazel just completely ignores the perpetrators of abuse. Mikola focuses on the situation, and Neefsy focuses on a specific form of power imbalance. I feel like it's fragmented parts of a picture. I'm not saying that I have the ability to paint the full picture, but I just want to shed a little bit more light on it and just say it's obviously very much about entitlement and the general entitlement across society that, you know, women are objects of sex, and that men are entitled to sex with women that they're in relationships with. Just all this stuff. Power and entitlement is key here. Men's entitlement, men's power, all of this exacerbated to degrees by fame. So, Part 2 and 3 are more directly in response to Carrie Hope Fletcher's recent video, which was an interview with Benjamin Cook. So I think it came out of the conversation around celebrity culture, YouTube celebrity culture, but also the fact that on a recent video on another channel than hers, she, I guess, accidentally implied that some victims are responsible for their abuse. Like I've seen it and I can understand how it can be interpreted that way, but I definitely understand that she didn't mean it that way. But she got really hammered for it, and was obviously really upset by this. So apparently she gets attacked a lot for some of the things she says. I think in this video, the interview, she said that she gets attacked for putting like little X's on the end of tweets that or comments in reply to fans, and that some people say that that's condescending, so she feels like, you know, whatever she says, people are going to criticize her and she can't win. Like, I feel for her. Like, I really do. I think she's only 21 years old, or maybe 22. She's got so many people following her. She's, like, actually famous. And most people in this position, like traditional fame, they have people protecting them. So they don't read all the stuff that people write about them, and people can't contact, or, you know, traditionally wouldn't have, there was no Twitter. You couldn't just say something that you wanted to a actor that you admired. Like, whether it was, you know, I love you so much and tell me more about your relationship and I need to know this, or it's, oh, I hate you, you're horrible, like, how could you do that? You know, what are you even thinking? So there used to be more distance, and I know that the lack of distance is a problem. And then there's that other age-old thing of, like, say in 1 week, 10 people tell you that they love you and that they admire you and that they're really happy that you're in their life, and one person who you might not even know that well or even care about says something really cruel and nasty to you. What are you going to be lying awake in bed at night thinking about? The person who said something nasty to you. So I feel like this plays out, like, in a massive way in terms of the feedback that Carrie gets. Because, like, when I saw that video of her interview and saying about all the nasty stuff people say to her, I was really confused, because I watch her videos and I don't comment much, but I read the comments, and there's a lot of people saying, oh, I love you, you know, you're really great, this is wonderful. I don't see that much negative stuff, but I guess it's just that thing. If a small percentage is, like, hating on you, that's the one you're going to dwell on. And, like, I don't have any solution to that. I think it's really sad. But the point that I wanted to make about this is that fans are diverse. Like, the mind, you know, our jerk brain, as Captain Awkward calls it, takes in the bad stuff, but there's diversity. Like, there's the people who don't have a sense of boundaries and want to know everything about your life. I mean, Carrie Hope Fletcher's life. And then there's the people that hate her, or whatever. And then there's the people in between that just admire her. But then there's people like me who don't even comment. Like, I just think she's seems like a great person, you know, talented performer, and makes really entertaining videos. I don't adore her. I think she's got a great video persona. And this leads me on to my third point, which is the viewer doesn't love you. So in her video, Vicky makes this point really well. She says that viewers and fans understand that they don't have the real deal, that the person that they're seeing in the video is not the real person, that it's edited, that it's a persona, that it's what that person wants to get across. They understand that. We understand that. We as viewers and fans understand that it's not really you. We're not stupid. And that's a point that Charlie McDonald picked up on in his video in response to this topic. So, for example, Vicky says, when people say, I love Sprinkle of Glitter, they don't mean I love Louise, whatever her name is, and I know her deeply and admire her for all that she's done, because I know all about it. All they're saying is that they like her channel and her videos and the persona that she presents. So, I feel like, and this could be misinterpretation, but I feel like in Carrie's interview and in Sprinkle of Glitter's video, like, they're freaking out because they're like, how can you call me a role model? You don't even know me, and if you did know me, you would know that I'm not a good role model. Like, I'm not a perfect person. But I feel like there's two things here. Like, number one, you don't have to be perfect to be a role model. Like, that's part of being a role model, is showing your imperfections, and that's okay. And number two, it's not you that's being the role model. It's not you. It's the you that you've put on your videos. And if you're happy with your videos and happy with the way that you've presented yourself for the most part, then is it really a bad thing that people admire this version of you? Like, I compare it to the Miley Cyrus scandal and her downfall. Like, the fact that she licked a wrecking ball or whatever doesn't stop Hannah Montana from being a good show for young teens. And, like, the same with Lindsay Lohan and what happened with her. Like, we still watch Mean Girls. It still has good messages. The fact that Lindsay went on to do whatever she did doesn't take away from that. And I'm not saying that all YouTube content creators who see themselves as role models are then going to go on and do drugs and shave their heads and twerk in public, But even if they did, it wouldn't stop their videos from being good. Like, it's good when actors like Hilary Duff take their position as role models seriously, and it's good when YouTubers do it as well. But I mean, you don't have to take it too seriously. We know that your screen persona is to an extent unreal, and I think it's okay for us to admire it anyway.